what made you become a pastor?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to be a pastor. I saw what the pastor did, and all I thought was, oh, he only preach, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be in business. So I wanted to follow my dad's footsteps and just become like my older brother, let's just go make it work, right? So we already had this mentality, like, you got to go make it work. It's no matter what, nothing's going to be given to you. And so I thought I was headed down the path of business. I'd get there eventually. Sales, so I was hustling. And so during that time, I was avoiding what I knew was going to be inevitable, that I would become maybe a pastor one day. I didn't know. I'm not even thinking about a church building and hundreds or thousands of people. I'm just thinking, I don't want to do that, because I know I'm going to have to live a life of, there's a lot of things you're going to have to say no to be able to say yes to that. So it's not a vocation choice, not a career choice. It's going to be, are you sure you are called? Because I was big. I'm still big into, you got to find your calling. What's your calling, right? What's your purpose? What is the God-designed destiny for your life? And I highly recommend everybody goes after that, because his plan is always better than your plan, always better than my plan. My plan was Air Force. My plan was business. This is his plan, and I'm being obedient to that plan. And so when I was avoiding it, I meet Lisa at church after about another 2 years of singleness and celibacy. So I was single and celibate.
How old are you?
Dude, I was 21 to 25.
21 to 25. Wow.
4 years.
Hormones in full effect.
But I was okay. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, right? I know don't even think it. Don't even think, you know what I mean? I didn't even date in that period of time. Didn't date. Because I was still contending for something different, right? And even in that period, during that separation period, I did not date. I wanted to, but I didn't. And then after that period, when it came to an end with her mom, I can tell you this: there's another year I stayed single again, and I stayed celibate for another year, because I had a feeling like I was like resaving myself. You know what I mean? I'm saving myself for someone else, and I don't know who it is. I don't know what she looks like, but I do have a list now, because I don't want to make another mistake. Like, I'm not going to go find her in the place that I found what I found love the last time. I want to find her in church. But I didn't go to church to creep. I didn't go to church to date. That would be a wrong motive to find girls. I was still in the same church when I was broken, and I'm in the same church while I'm being healed. And now I know what I want in a woman. And what I want is someone that can run with me faith-wise, that loves the Lord more than she would love me. Because then I'm not completing her, because I'm going to fail. And she's not completing me. She's going to fail. We're sure going to try, though. And I prayed. I said, Lord, if I could ever get married, could she be, this tall? Can she be gorgeous Chinese? and love the Lord, love the Lord more than me, because I know we can make it through any storm. And someone that's what we call equally yoked, right? You heard that that's an old Bible term. And when they put the yoke on the oxen.
That's an old Bible term. I was thinking equally yoked as in like that guy's yoked. So I thought it was more like a metaphor for like being yoked or something.
Oh, no.
Just like,
Yeah. Hey, I could think about that for a moment. We got to be equally yoked on that too. That'd be awesome.
Equally yoked in Christ.
Yeah. And so when I met Lisa, we dated, and, we kind of broke up for a little bit because our focus was coming off of God now. It was more on our relationship. And we both recognized that. And we were no longer... Well, so I backed that up to say that we got married within 14 months. Yeah, even though we broke up once.
Yeah.
I couldn't live... 16 months. I couldn't live without her. I realized that she might have checked every box, but it wasn't about checking boxes. It was all about, like, I felt like this was going to be a partnership. And so when I married Lisa, she was already working she was like a head volunteer at Hope Chapel. And before we got married, the pastor was very close to, he and his wife were close to her because they kind of looked out for her. And so I remember that when we started dating, he was like, okay, now I got to get to know this guy. Who's this guy? I see him in my church all the time, but I don't even know him. So he came up to me, Pastor Ralph Moore, and he invited me to go to breakfast with him one day. He goes, hey, come to breakfast with me. I'm like, oh my gosh, the pastor wants to have breakfast with me. I was so nervous, Kamaka. And he goes, I go, where are we going? He goes, McDonald's. I'm like, McDonald's, okay. He loves McDonald's. So I go to my first breakfast with him at McDonald's. And I'm figuring that he's trying to just suss me out, right? He's trying to see if I'm legit, if I'm a player, how serious I am. And he started to hear a little bit more about my story. And he goes, you know what? Let's meet me again next Wednesday. Okay, yeah. So I drive all the way from Manoa, drive over, meet with him. We moved to Ainahaina at that time, and I would go meet with him for breakfast at 7 o'clock in the morning at McDonald's. One McDonald's breakfast Wednesday turned into like 8. And before I know it, he's actually kind of discipling me. Mm-hmm. He's teaching me. He's bringing me along this journey. And I got his blessing to do the wedding. He marries me and Lisa, and it's a big deal. You know, Courtney didn't want to come down the aisle. You know, she's the flower girl. She's like, no, she was pouting. She wouldn't come down. So Lisa had to grab her hand and walk down the aisle with her. I was like, oh boy, here we go. And we had the reception in Waikiki, afternoon lunch. Everybody left. Okay, everybody go home already. You know, it's been 5 years, you know, single, celibate. Here we go. You know, I'm kind of excited about the honeymoon, right? Been waiting for this. And Pastor Ralph and his wife, when everybody leaves, comes straight up to me, Kamaka, puts his finger, like at that time, his finger looked like 2 feet long, puts it right in my chest. And he goes, you ought to be a pastor. And I felt like this tidal wave picked me up, bro. I honestly felt like apprehension. I was like, no, don't do this to me. No. And you know, I kind of messed with my head that night, the honeymoon, put a little damper on the honeymoon, because that was a big thing that it wasn't out of the blue. I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't think it was going to happen that day. I knew somehow I was going to go in that direction, and I didn't want to. And finally, for the next year, I decided that I'm going to pursue this business all in and forget about that. And I would journal all the time. And at the end of the day, bro, I want to do what God wants me to do. And I hope that's not what he wants me to do, because I want to do this. Yeah. I want to be a millionaire. I want to build a business. I want to do all of that. And then finally, at the end of that 1 year, I looked at it and I talked to some of my friends, and I realized I'm literally being called to do this. And it wasn't you're called to something big. No, it was called just to obedience. Just can you follow the next step? Sometimes God's not going to show you the big picture. He shows you the next step. And the next step was, okay, all right, step up as a volunteer a little bit more. And then finally they would come up to me to tell me, hey, we got to get you on staff. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then 3 months later, man, we got to get you on staff. Yeah, okay, all right, I'm here. I'm working all these jobs. Let me know, man. You know, I got to give up one of these. Let me know. 1 year into it, we got to get you on staff. I said, can you guys stop telling me that? Because you're filling me with apprehension and hope. And they took it serious. And they said, okay. So they created a position called a young married couples ministry. So if you were married 5 years or less, you went into this group. And so I did that. And still working my job at American Airlines and the restaurant, and married to Lisa. And we moved to Kaneohe, and there I am. And then finally, the youth pastor gets let go. And after about 2 years, Pastor Ralph said, hey, I want you to be the youth pastor. I said, I don't want to be the youth pastor. He goes, why? I said, I don't like high school kids. He goes, why? I said, I don't know. They're irritating. He goes, you'll love them. You sure? He's like, yeah. He goes, would you do it? I said, if you need me to do it, I'll do it. So I said, okay, I do it. So I'm the youth pastor. And I love it, Kamaka. It was like the best 4 to 5 years that I had. I cut my teeth, learned how to teach, learned how to speak. I had, it's hard to keep high school kids engaged, bro. It's like you're doing a song and dance. You try, hey, over here, guys. There's no phones back then. Well, maybe small Nokias. But what I loved about it was I loved to see their growth. We had a lot going on in campuses. Castle High School was pretty much Kamehameha. A lot of kids at Kamehameha was coming to our youth ministry. And I loved it. I was taking missions teams to Japan. These kids would go to me to Japan. We had a pipeline of kids going to Whitworth College in Washington or Azusa Pacific. And then finally, just when you're having the time of your life, God says, I got something else for you. And I remember driving up the hill to Hope Chapel, Kaneohe, now called Anchor Church. Great church if you live on the Kaneohe side, the windward side. I'm driving up the hill in my used Volvo. I always bought Volvos because I can fix the oil, change the oil. And the 240 DL coming up the long driveway to Anchor. And I hear a voice inside of me that says, you won't be here long. And I know that this is God. I freak out because I've never heard his voice like that before. Never. Up until then, never. And I pull over and I start looking for Pastor Ralph. It's a Sunday night. He's never there on a Sunday night. I'm about to do my youth ministry. And I get out, my youth service, I get out and I'm looking, he's there. And I walk up to him. And I said, Pastor Ralph, can I talk to you? He's like, yeah. I said, I don't want you to make any moves. He goes, okay, we're not gonna make any moves. I said, I just heard God speak to me in my voice, in my heart. This is what he said. He said, I won't be here long. Now, if it's me, I'm going like, okay, how can we move you out? Like, how can we, you know what I mean? Like, what? You're not gonna be here. And he was so gracious. And I think he knew. And he said, you know what? Thank you for telling me, Mike. Most guys, they don't share this stuff. They hold it close. And I said, please don't make any moves. I love it here. I love it here. My wife works here. I had my kids here. My kids love the church. I don't want to leave, but I heard it. And he goes, we'll take our time. Don't you worry about it. Okay. Now, I don't even know what I'm going to, Kamaka. I don't know. All I know is I love this and I don't want to give this up. But my experience is every time I say yes, it's hard, but it's worth it. And so, well, I get on the youth circuit. I speak in Oregon, and I'm a youth pastor now. And this guy goes, I speak 7 times. I never spoke 7 times before in 1 week. I'm in my tent writing new sermons, bro. I'm squeezing. And the kids loved it. The youth pastor in Eugene loved it. It was the most amazing camp. I get on an airplane. I'm flying home, Hawaiian Airlines out of Portland, Oregon. And I open up the envelope and they gave me a check for like $700 for speaking 7 times. I couldn't believe it. I said, look, they fly me. They gave me $700. When I do camps with my other friends in Hawaii, we give you a t-shirt, bro. Get a t-shirt.
Plate lunch.
T-shirt, hot dog, plate
Side
lunch.
Mac.
Keep the cost down, right? And so I said yes. And I looked at this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I want to be a youth pastor forever. I'm digging this. I'm loving kids. I'm using a gift that God gave me. I'm getting better at it. And then the day that I get home, I get 1 day off. I got my camp coming up. And then pastor calls me into his office. And he goes, hey, how's your vacation? I said, it's great. He goes, well, you're back. And like, yeah, I got camp this week. He goes, okay. He goes, there's a church that they need a pastor. And they're wondering if you want to do it. I'm like, are you serious? I go, where's the church? He goes, it's in Waikele. Waikele? I didn't even know we had a church in Waikele. Yeah, it's called Hope Chapel Waikele. Waikele? Waikele, it's just a fancy name for Waipahu. Bro, it's like they ain't got no zip code. It's just a fancy name for Waipahu. And he goes, no, look, they need a pastor. He said, Rob turned it down, so they're asking you. I said, oh, I'm the second choice. And I had a hard time with that. He goes, no, look, you'd be great at it. Go. I'm like, Pastor, I already got my youth camp this week. How can I do that? And he goes, well, just pray about it. He goes, I thought about going and leaving you here. I was like, are you serious? He goes, no, I thought about it. And I said, okay, I'll pray about it. I'm not excited about it, I'll be honest, because I love it here. I don't see myself there. I can see myself in Honolulu. Yeah, I could go to Honolulu, but Waikele, that's out there. He's like, yeah, pray about it. Well, that night, this is how God works. That night, Sunday night, my youth camp is coming up on Tuesday. So on Sunday night, I got my youth service again. And this guy from Japan comes. His name is Jeff. Jeff brings 2 guys with him. Jeff is speaking at my youth service. He's a Japan missionary. He's ADD. He's awesome. Kids love him. I'm sitting in the courtyard. I'm trying to make sure I can get as many kids to camp as possible. I'm getting donations. I'm trying to sponsor kids. And my mind is on the camp, not just on the service. So I'm sitting alone with this guy. Like, Jeff leaves me with this guy. I'm kind of irritated, a little bit annoyed. Like, hey, how's it, bro? My name's Mike. He goes, hey, I'm Ray. I said, nice to meet you. He's like, yeah, nice to meet you too. He goes, I said, so who'd you come with? Oh, I came with Jeff. How you know Jeff? We go way back. Okay, right on. Hope Chapel Mililani days. I'm like, okay. And he goes, he says to me, he goes, so I said to him, wait, so back this up. He goes, I asked him, so how do you know Jeff? He goes, oh, I go, what do you do? He goes, oh, I'm a pastor. You're a pastor? Where? Because I thought I knew everybody, right, at this point in our Hope Chapel family. He goes, oh, Hope Chapel Waikele? What? Bro, did Ralph talk to Jeff? You're leaving. He goes, nobody knows yet. I said, but I know. It's like, did they put you up? Did they come here? Did they bring you here to recruit me to for you to come here so that I would go take your church? You know, that I would be He goes, I think you'd be great. I said, how do you know? You haven't even heard me speak yet. He goes, no, I think you'd be great. I said, I don't want it. I said, how come you don't want to do it anymore? He goes, I'm kind of just burned out already. I've been bivocational for a long time, and I think it's time for me to focus on my family. And I had a heart for him when he said that, right? Because burnout's a real thing, right? And so I said, okay. I said, well, he said, you should come preach at the church. I said, nah, I don't want to preach at the church. I'll come visit it. He goes, yeah. He goes, please, would you pray about it? I'm like, did they tell you to come here? Because I don't want nobody messing with my life. Yeah. Only God. And he goes, no, nobody told me to come here, bro, to talk to you. Wow, what a trip. So we go to Camp Timberline. You know where that is? In Makakilo? Up in the hills? I call it Camp Terrible, bro. It was bad, bro.
Yeah. Well, I've heard of it. I've never been there.
Yeah. So I have camp up there. So every morning I get up. I got to pray about this church. So I'm still the youth pastor. I get up on the hill and I pray. I'm looking over. Now, this is 2001. I'm overlooking the Eva Plain. There's not a lot there at the time. I'm overlooking Kapolei. There's a little bit there. And I look at it and I said, God, I don't want to come here. I say, it doesn't rain here. I love the windward side. It reminds me of the big island. God, I don't want to go. But if you want me to go, you got to make it real clear. I run my camp. God does great things, having a great time. Second day, I get up on the same rock, different cup of coffee. And my prayer is the same thing, pretty much. God, I don't want to go. But I'm looking over the plain. If you want me to go, I'll go. But you got to really change my heart. Third day into camp. Same rock, new coffee, sit down over the plain. God, I don't want to go, but I'll do what you want me to do. But you're going to have to really change my heart. You know what's crazy? Every time I got up on that rock, my heart started to change. I started to have a love for that side of the island, the people. And by the last day, I'm in tears. My prayer is this: God, I'll go wherever you want me to go. I'll say whatever you want me to say. I'll be whatever you want me to be. I'll just do whatever you want me to do. And then my wife calls me in about 20 minutes. She goes, Mike. I go, hey, babe, how you doing? I miss you. She goes, yeah. Guess what? I go, what? We just got 3 nights for free at the Doubletree Hotel. The Doubletree. Wow. I go, just me and you. She goes, just me and you. I said, awesome. I can't wait to be alone with you. She goes, yeah, we're going to pray. What are you talking about? We got to pray about this church, Mike. We got to take this serious. We're going to fast and pray. I'm like, fast and pray? Who goes to Waikiki to fast and pray? Bro, I'm thinking eat, pray, love. You know what I'm talking about? She's thinking fasting and praying, bro. And I promise you, man, I was like, okay, we're going to do it. And I was like, man, okay, so Lord, we go over there and we do. We walk, we talk, we fast. We're not eating. We're drinking water, juice, and we're praying. And at the end of that third day, My wife says to me, she goes, I think you're ready. I said, you think I'm ready? She goes, I think you're ready. I said, really? She goes, yeah. I said, I think so too. It's kind of how quickly in 1 week God can change your heart from something you don't want to do to something that you actually want to do now. So I call Pastor. Can I talk to you? Coming out of Waikiki. He goes, yeah, come on over to the office. Up until then, we only talked for 2 minutes. And I come over and I said to him, I said, Pastor. He goes, yep. I go, let me ask you 2 questions before I tell you. He goes, okay. This is number 1. He goes, yeah. Are you trying to get rid of me? You know what I mean? Like, am I being pushed upstairs into management? Yeah. You know, it's like, am I retiring as a, you know, I can't play football anymore, so now I'm gonna be an assistant coach, grad assistant, or whatever. Are you trying to get rid of me? He goes, no, I'm not. He goes, it's a matter of fact. Okay, all right. Okay, question number 2. Why Waikele? Why not Honolulu? You got New Hope, Wayne Cordero there. They're getting a lot of people in Honolulu. He goes, I actually think you're going to get more people on the west side because the growth is going to come there. He's already knew the growth was coming there.
Oh, yeah.
And he said,
it grew.
right? And he goes, guys in your youth ministry, they're going to end up stop coming to your church when they're adults with kids. And I said, okay, 3rd question. He goes, yeah. I go, are you actually trying to make room for your son? And this is your way of doing it gracefully. And he had tears in his eyes and he said, you are my son. You are my son. And I went, all right, we're going. And I had 2 weeks. I didn't have like time to start this. Okay, remember now, this church had 5 pastors. Ray was the 5th in a 13-year span. They had no building, just a cafeteria. They had no offices. And they had like 12 grand in the bank. That's it. And I was thinking marketing. I'm going to use this money for marketing, right? Radio spots. And that's what we had. So in 2 weeks, was gone. 40 people that lived on that side said, we'll come with you. Ralph, let me take anybody you can. In 2 weeks, to get 40 people. They were the best. We took over. We called it Hope Chapel, West Oahu. And our first weekend, man, I tell you what, we had like 150 because it was kind of like a grand opening. Second weekend, boom, dropped down to 80. And so now goes a roller coaster, and we're just faithful in what the little things, and then we would be put in responsibility of more things later. And the first hire was not me. I was still the youth pastor. I had to wait till his son came over. I had to run the youth ministry at the same time while I'm restarting a church. Wow. Rebrand it at the same time. And so it was hard, bro. That was really hard for me emotionally. And yeah, it took an emotional toll for that 5 months where I'm doing both. I'm trying to pump this one up and maintain this one until the handoff happens. And I went through probably a hard emotional time at that time, you know, burnout, kind of hit burnout.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
Yeah. And so I remember my first hire was Randy Kimura, still with me to this day. You know where our office was? Borders Bookstore.
Hey, call back to Borders.
Back to Borders. Right at the Waikele Shopping Center. And now it's the Starbucks and the Sephora and Gap. And that was our office. We had 2 cell phones, Nextel. I called them Next to Hell because they never worked. And then 2 Sony Vaio laptops. And we were hustling, meeting people, getting names, getting numbers, having coffees, drank way more coffee than I ever should have in my whole life. And that was the humble beginnings of what would become Inspire Church.
That's so cool.